Hi, I'm Suzanne Alexander with American Songwriter, coming to you from Starstruck Studios in Nashville, Tennessee. And whether you watch season 20 of American Idol or not, I am sure you are familiar with by now this woman right here, HunterGirl. A pleasure to have you join
Oh,
us.
I'm so excited. Thank you so much for having me.
So, I mean, a whirlwind since this
Oh,
is all
yeah.
around. Is this like the one time you have to breathe and take a beat?
Well, I kind of hit the ground running right
Yeah.
when I got back to Nashville and everything. So I'm still running. I've gotten to breathe a little bit and see my family. So it's been good getting to be back home.
Wrapping up in the top two, Noah Thompson taking the win. 100,000 people, right, audition for American Idol every season. Have you wrapped your head around taking it at the top? I mean, that I can't imagine.
It's been an incredible year, the craziest year of my life. And, auditioning for American Idol, I was so scared. I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. And I never thought I'd make it past the Nashville audition, much less, making the top two with Noah. And it's just been a really great time. And I was just proud by the end of it, no matter what happened.
You know, all of us, of course, cheering you on because we're here in Tennessee. We wanted our Tennessee girl to take this thing. But you seem to just really handle it like a seasoned pro, and there's a reason for that, and we'll get to that. But talk about that kind of schedule when you're in the thick of it. I mean, it has to be, is it rehearsing? Is it choosing songs constantly?
Yeah, it's the day, like we'd get up and the call time would change every morning, obviously, because we never know what we're going to do that day. We do interviews, we rehearse with a band, we rehearse our own songs, choose songs. We're running constantly throughout everything. And it was so much fun just learning about the business and how to talk and figuring all that stuff out. And it was so cool just getting to do this with my friends. The people on the show, it's just been so good because I know I'm going to have friends for the rest of my life, and we definitely pulled each other through any hard moments that any of us had while on the show.
I was going to ask, it kind of became a little bit like family.
Yeah, it was definitely like family coming into this, Going into a competition, you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what the people are going to be like.
Right.
And I'm going to have friends for the rest of my life because of just how kind these people are, how talented everybody is. And I was so happy to say that I made genuinely best friends while I was there on the show.
I have to give Bryan some credit here. I mean, man, he called it right from the get-go.
Oh my gosh.
For Luke to say his prediction with you, did that really kind of give you that boost of confidence to go, listen, Luke he knows his stuff?
Yeah. No, I've looked up to Luke Bryan my entire life. I listened to his songs. And so going into that first Nashville audition, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm about to be in front of three of the biggest people in music. I'm scared to death. And whenever Luke told me that in that audition room, it meant everything to me. Like, if you look at the audition video, my eyes are just going, oh my gosh, Luke Bryan's talking to me. But yeah, him believing in me and pushing me so hard throughout the entire competition, little Hunter would probably lose her mind if she saw whatever happened throughout the show and getting to be with Luke. He's just been a huge mentor to me.
Favorite moments for you when you look back on all of it?
There's so many special moments throughout the show, but I think getting to sing my single Redbird in the finale, a song that meant so much to me and to my family, it feels like that song for me is like taking my heart out and literally laying it right there and somebody open up my diary. That would be that song for me. So that was probably the most special moment.
What's going on behind the scenes when they go, are you going to do this song or that? And you go, I'm going to do an original. Was there any hesitation at all?
Yes, I did a couple originals while on the show. Redbird was in the finale when we were showing our original songs, but I did an original song called Heartbreak Down during Top 20. And so, that was nerve-wracking because I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I'm doing an original song right now, and I never thought that I'd be singing my own song on TV, much less doing it here. And getting to sing that song, it feels like, that's me as an artist. This is the words that I said, stuff that I've lived through. And I think anytime that I sing an original song, I'm hoping that it reaches somebody that really needs it. So getting to sing 2 original songs on the show was incredible because maybe somebody out there needed that song during that time. And any of the nerves that I had were totally outweighed about the good that it could possibly do.
That's interesting. So it really kind of more or less puts you at ease more so than doing covers or somebody else's song.
Yeah. Well, I love singing covers. I love singing other people's songs, people that I've looked up to. I think that's how you get started in music is studying, where country music came from, who I believed in growing up. I loved Dolly Parton. I loved Reba McEntire. And not only for just how they are as singers and writers, but who they are as people. And so I think I definitely had a lot of influences growing up that definitely influenced my songwriting later on. to get to sing that. Yeah.
So here, a HunterGirl from American Idol. Have you met some of your heroes? I know Carrie Underwood was on the show.
I know. Whenever I met Carrie, I was so scared. I was so nervous because I'm like, I've watched you since I was a little girl. I remember being in the living room watching American Idol on Sundays. It was a big thing. We'd all cook dinner. My Nana and Pa would come over. And I remember watching Carrie Underwood and my Nana saying, baby, you could do that one day. So Carrie was definitely that person for me that made me believe that, maybe I could be in music. And so getting to meet her, it was a little Hunter's dream come true, getting to meet Carrie Underwood. That was wild.
Would she give you any advice? Did you get some downtime with her?
Yeah. Whenever I got to mentor with her, we were doing her songs that week. And so she was talking about just like believing in yourself, pushing yourself. And during that song, it was a power song, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like we got to watch her in Vegas, and she's singing power song after power song, and I'm like, how do you do it? I think it's just that strengthening of knowing who you are and coming onto that stage. And it's so funny because she's just very sweet and normal and just getting to talk to her. And then when she goes on that stage, she just commands it. And I'm like, what do you do? And she was like, I just look in the mirror and like, you can do this. Have this faith in yourself. And it's just that self-affirmation that, you're good enough. And her telling me that I was good enough, I cried a little bit, but hearing that from one of your idols that you've looked up to forever, we get in our heads sometimes and we overthink everything, especially being on a competition show.
Hard not to.
Yeah, but to hear that from her, it made me feel like I could go to the next round.
You talk about little HunterGirl.
Yeah, little HunterGirl.
Growing up in Winchester, Tennessee.
Yeah.
How young were you when you started? Because as I said, watching you on Idol, there was you seemed very much at ease. There was a professionalism that you had, that a seasoned pro. You've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah, I always knew I wanted to be a singer. I grew up singing in my grandpa's church whenever I was 3 years old. And then I started writing songs at 9. And I don't know what I had to write a song about then. I don't know if my crayons broke. I don't know what happened. But I started writing songs at 9, started playing guitar and I was about 15. And so I started playing music full time at 14, 15. Wow. And my mom and dad would drive me everywhere, and they'd be like, that's my daughter, looking at me through the window. And so I've been doing this almost 10 years, playing shows and writing songs. And it's just been a crazy journey, and I can't believe that it led me here. So.
Family musical? Was this unusual?
No.
You have siblings, right?
Yes, I have a little sister. We're total opposites. She's going to school to be a doctor, and I'm trying to make it in music, so it's total opposites. My family's not musical. My mom always said that, God gave it to me. And so, like, growing up with my grandpa in church and then moving on to writing songs and then going to play shows, it just, it feels like that this is something I've wanted to do my entire life. And my mom worked 2 or 3 jobs growing up. My pa worked 3 or 4. And so I think it was instilled in me at a young age that I had to work hard for what I wanted. And I knew that I needed to start as soon as possible.
I have to mention this story that, in Winchester, Tennessee, there's a lake there and there's a marina. And this girl did a karaoke contest and you won that contest. And now here I am hosting a concert for Sarah Evans, and you come out, and part of that, winning that contest, you take the stage. I had no idea, right? And I'm thinking, okay, well, this is nice. A Winchester girl who just won a karaoke contest.
Just hanging out.
You finished that song. I literally, and I don't know if you remember, I came out bowing to you on stage. I was blown away and thought, what are you doing? Like, it's amazing. And you have such a support team in Winchester. I know you went back for the parade there. By the way, thanks for taking it off. Of course, now Bryan is always hanging out apparently at the marina when he has downtime. Thanks for that.
Oh my gosh. Oh, it's crazy.
Talk about your support in Winchester, and of course having your home, your friends, everybody rallying around you.
No, Winchester supported me whenever I was just playing shows around town and getting a band together from some of the guys that I went to church with. And they've just been a huge support system for me. I think whenever you have such good people around you, you always have a safe place to go. And I think Winchester has definitely been that place for me. And in all the surrounding counties, too. Everybody kind of rallied around me whenever American Idol happened, going back to my hometowns. Right. And, we were kind of in a bubble for a few months, and I hadn't really been out. And the first time I really got to go out was during my hometown visit. And it was just overwhelming. I was crying. I was like, oh, my gosh, to seeing these people that I remember playing at shows at 14 and some of these people being in the audience and cheering me on when there was 6 people. And just to feel that that hometown love and everything. Going through that Idol, that pushed me on. They were having viewing parties at the Oldham Theater back in Winchester. Everybody, just all the signs, anything. I would look at my phone if I was going through a hard day, and I'm like, okay, my hometown's got me. And so they've been a huge part of my life, and I couldn't do this without them.
You mentioned, of course, coming to songwriting at 9 years old and performing since a little girl. You won a big contest at just, 14 or 15 years old, the Texaco Country Showdown. Good company, by the way. Carrie Underwood won that, Leanne Rhymes, Martina McBride. I mean, when you're winning these contests, you have to know, I am on the right path. Does it really kind of solidify you are where you need to be?
I think that, whenever I was like 14, 15, I was in the Texaco Country Showdown, and it was actually with the same guys that I was in the band with from the church. I went in there.
Really?
Yeah, and they were like in their mid-40s, and I was like, hey, can you start a band with me? I really want to play shows. And nobody around town really played music my age, and so they played that show with me. And just doing any competition, anything, I would go and be like, hey, can I sing for you? Just to get some feedback. And so I think my musical journey had just been a lot of hard work and a lot of love along the way from so many people. I think when somebody says they believe in you, it just meant everything to me growing up, and I couldn't have done that without anybody else.
It seems it lights a fire in you.
Yeah.
And there are some artists who are pushed by people that believe, and they've got a team. I really feel with you, you are self-propelled. You chase it down. There is something inside you that there's a passion and there's a knowingness.
Yeah.
Has it always been there? I feel like, who else had that? Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton had that drive when she was a little kid. She always knew.
Yeah.
It feels like that's the same thing.
Oh, thank you. I was lucky enough to know what I wanted to do when I was little. I just felt that in my body. I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. I don't know how I'm going to get there, how this is going to work out. So many people had told me, like, nobody makes it in music. It's going to be a hard run through. And I kind of looked at them and I was like, but I'm going to figure it out. Yeah. And so I definitely had this passion inside me. I was like, I got to figure out how to do this. I'm going to chase it. And I spent my whole life doing that. I played my songs. I wrote the songs. And whenever I was working on downtown Broadway, right when I turned 18, I literally was like, bye, Mom. I love you guys. Bye, Dad. And got in the vehicle and started going to school. And I was working on Broadway 7 days a week, full time, 4 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours, like however long I had to be there. Learned how to do, the lighting would fall apart. I'd figure out how to do the lighting. The sound would go out. I'd be like, okay, I got to figure out the sound. I'd roll up my cables. I'd bring my equipment on my back and walk 30 minutes, pay $20 to park just to play, for maybe an hour and a half some days. And I think that all those days that I remember calling my mom at like 2 a.m. after a show and be like, Mom, I'm walking in my car. I'm trying to make it. I'm just doing everything that I can. And I think all those nights and all those days spent working towards this, I definitely feel like every day I woke up and said, I got to figure out how to do music. And I don't think that'll quit anytime soon.
Now that you're here, what do you take from those days? Because obviously doing everything and learning top to bottom, not everybody has had that experience. I think that makes you stronger.
I definitely feel like I've become such a stronger person, even throughout this past year. I never thought that I would be on TV and I would be doing this. Somebody's micing me up. And, I never thought that I would go through that experience. And I think just that work ethic that got drilled into me whenever I was younger, like if you want something, you got to work for it. And all the people that I looked up to and how hard they worked. And I was like, okay, if I want to do this, I got to go all in. And so I think that all those times where like my guitar string broke, I got to string it up on stage, something falls apart, everything's going crazy. I think all those days and all that chaos made me ready to even do American Idol. I couldn't have done that 5 years ago. There's no way. Wow. And so I think that God makes things happen when it's supposed to, and sometimes a door closes, so a window could open.
Absolutely. You learn on the fly, and you learn to survive for sure. You mentioned going to school, and I have to ask, did your parents go, okay, you can chase this, but, or was that your decision?
It was definitely my decision. I wanted to go to school. I went to MTSU. Middle Tennessee State University.
For people who may not know, not that far of a drive to Nashville, so you were able to do both, but I cannot imagine doing your classes and playing until 2 a.m.
Yeah, it was crazy. I felt bad for my roommate. No, she did music stuff too, so we got along really great. But yeah, I was going to school full time, playing 7 days a week down on Broadway, then writing songs. And I don't know how I slept because I was, doing 8 a.m. classes, and then I'd run and go play Broadway at probably about either sometimes 2 or sometimes 6 o'clock, and then get back at 2 a.m. and then get up and do it again. I just knew that I wanted to be in Nashville my entire life, and when I got there, I was like, okay. I was like, I'm in Music City, and so I just hit the ground running. And yeah, it's been a crazy journey, and it's crazy to think that was, oh my gosh, I was 18. It's wild. That's wild.
So having Idol now in your rearview mirror, you just played CMA Music Fest.
Yeah.
You're walking down Broadway.
Yeah, that was an emotional moment. Jimmy Allen, one of the sweetest humans.
Yes.
He's one of the nicest people I've ever met. He mentored us on the show, and he invited me up to sing my original song Redbird at the beginning of CMA Fest at Riverfront stage. And I just remember going past Broadway and like looking at all these places that I played. I played almost every bar that was down there on Broadway. I was there every day. And just walking and getting to see just the journey, and then getting on that stage to sing my original song. I remember all those times I went with my family to CMA Fest and like sitting in the heat, just wanting to see some of my favorite artists. And so I remember when I was singing Redbird, and I just looked out at the crowd and I saw my mom go like this. And I was just like, okay, Mom, you could have waited to the end of the song. I was like, I got off stage and I just went, whoo. It was just a full circle moment, and just how bad I've wanted to be there. And getting to have that moment on that first day, and Jimmy being nice enough to let me get up there. And it was a full circle moment for me that I'm going to remember that for the rest of my life.
Of course, you've mentioned the original song Redbird. This is an amazing song, and I think for all of us who've lost somebody and you see those red birds that fly, of course, that is a sign. And finish this. I'm going to start it, but I want you to finish this.
Okay.
This world's so dark, it's like all the color gone. Sometimes I feel like I'm fighting on my own. Then
I see all I need in a pine tree out of the blue. It reminds me your timing's better than mine. I know it's true.
Talk about the inspiration behind writing it.
Redbirds have been a big thing in my life since I was a little girl. The song is literally how it happened, but my mom told me whenever I was little, she was like, whenever you see a redbird, it's a sign that somebody's watching you up in heaven. And then she also said that when you see a redbird, make a wish and it'll come true. And it's funny, you'd be like, oh, that might have been Granny or that might have been Grandpa, and just a sign that they're still watching over us. And so that song, I wanted to write that song for a long time. I just didn't know how at that point. But I went home for the first episode of American Idol to air. That's the one that I was on. And I was driving down to my parents' house and going down the gravel road. And I was just scared to death. I was like overthinking everything in my head. And I was like, people are not going to like me. Maybe the song wasn't good enough. Like it just, being human.
Right.
And I was talking to God, and I was like, hey, I know that everything's going to be okay, but could you just let me know? And then a redbird flew in front of my car. Another one flew in front of my car all the way home. And I just sat there at my parents' house, and I was like, it's going to be okay. And the next week, I got back to Nashville, and I was with two of my really, really good friends, Matt McKinney and Austin Goodlow. And we sat in that room, and we wrote that song. I walked in, I was like, hey, this is just a song for me. It's a soul song. I was like, I don't know what it's going to turn into, but, I just need to write this song today. And by the end, we were all
I'm getting teary-eyed and watching. We might have to take a break.
We were all in tears by the end because they were going through different things too. And so whenever the show, I literally left for LA for the last time, probably about a week and a half, 2 weeks later, and we had to choose our singles that we were going to release on the show, and I couldn't believe that Redbird was the one that was that's just me in a song. That's just my family. That's my journey. It's all the people that I lost. I know we've lost a lot of people the past few years, and especially in my life. And getting to have that song for anybody out there that was feeling alone or missing somebody. That's why I do music. It's not just to sing or do this. It's like I think music's supposed to help people, and we're supposed to reach people, and get to sing that kind of song on TV is what it would just. That was my moment. That's the moment I'm proud of.
You mentioned your grandparents.
Yeah.
Big influence on you.
Yeah.
Military backgrounds.
Yeah.
And because of them, You've now really dedicated a part of your life to helping out veterans.
Yeah.
Speak to that.
Yeah, my grandpa, my great grandpa, 6 of my great uncles. I grew up, around all of them. My grandpa, he was in the Air Force, and I actually wrote a song about him too. But I work with veterans, and basically what I do is I write a song with them about things that they've experienced, things that they're going through. Most of the time, it's something they've went through during war, and I turn it into a song. And so then we go in and we record the song. They get to keep it forever, and we get to play it in concerts. And it's really, really cool because sometimes their families don't know about some of the stuff that they went through, and they get to have that moment where they actually get to tell them. I think it's easier to talk to a stranger sometimes,
Right.
and so I'm happy to be that friendly stranger that helps create that song. And I work with so many veterans. I've been doing that since I was about 17. And it's always been a big passion of mine. Like, they've done so much for us. And if there's any way that I could help, I'm going to do that. One of my biggest regrets is not getting to write my grandpa's song before he passed away. And so I wrote a song about him a few years ago and everything. But just watching how somebody could change, and like that, I think it's just that moment that I realized, like, I write a song every day. And then to watch somebody who's never written a song get to have that moment of that relief of getting through something, and a song that they can keep forever, that's them. And I think working with veterans definitely changed my perspective on music. Because, as a writer and a singer, you're like, am I singing this right? Is this the right line? Did it rhyme with that one?
Right.
And then it was just that switch of like, what's going to make somebody feel something? What's going to make somebody get through this? It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to make somebody feel something. And they've changed my life so much. And watching the hometown visit back on Idol, and just having that moment with the veterans that I worked with, I was just beside myself. And they've given up so much, and I want to do anything that I can help for the rest of my life, because I love all them, and I appreciate everything they've done. They've had a huge sacrifice, and their families. I write with some of the families too, and Gold Star kids and everything. So
This seems like a masterclass in songwriting. I mean, for anybody who's trying to think of how to do it, and like you said, not think of, hey, the bridge goes here, and now we bring the verse back. It seems like that goes, like you said, out the window, and you learn to write from the heart. So it's really changed you, the experience as an artist.
No, it's definitely changed me as an artist, as a person. It's just that switch of like, songs are meant to make people feel something. It's like, and for somebody to have that song that's 100% them. Some of the songs that I've written with the veterans, like, this is their story. This is things that they went through. It's some of the trauma they faced, and I think just that realization of like, oh my gosh, the song is not supposed to be like, this line rhymes with this one, or this one's the perfect way. It's supposed to be a person. It's a human talking to you.
I would feel, having that experience, that it's got to be such a heavy moment for you.
Yeah.
But it puts things in perspective when you have something like Idol, and can you recall that and go, okay, what's really important here? And like you said, a message that you're able to deliver.
I don't think a lot of people know this, but whenever I was going for my first audition in Nashville, I was actually having a class with my veterans. I do a Zoom class with female veteran class, and I love my ladies. So I was talking to them, and I was like, I'm auditioning in a few days, and they're cheering me on, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm nervous, and they're like, no, it's gonna go good, it's gonna go good. And it was crazy because they gave me my audition date. Idol called me, and it was on Veterans Day.
Oh my gosh.
And and they were in the video, and after I got the ticket, I got to go back, and they were on my FaceTime, and just getting them to see that, and like how much they have been a part of my life and changed my life. And it's like my family, it's my second family. And so getting to have that moment with them on Veterans Day, just like, it was a full circle thing, just to have that moment with them.
Having veterans, and that being so important to you, your family, your friends, being really a part of this career. For the song Redbird, there is what we call visualizers. We used to
Yeah.
call them lyric videos or just videos. Now they're visualizers, different names. But it's a beautiful video, and I was wondering, and I know a lot of fans probably asking if that's your family that we're seeing.
Yeah, it's all pictures of my family, and some friends too. Tracy Smith, he was a huge part of my life, and he's actually the one that introduced me to start writing songs with veterans. He's been a huge part of my life, and he passed away. And so I posted a picture of them, and he was in the video. And then, you know, my grandpa was in the video, and my parents and everything. And so that song and how much it meant to me and my family, you know, whenever I was going to release it, I was like, I don't know if everybody has that same saying of like a red bird. And I knew that with that video, I wanted to have my family in it because they have been a huge part of my life and my friends and my veterans. And I don't think I'm ever going to not remember everybody who ever believed in me and anybody that took a chance on me, because I couldn't do this without them.
You take it with you.
Yeah, take them with you. I don't think that'll ever stop, ever. They're always going to be in my car, on my phone, or a picture on the dashboard. You know, I think remembering where you come from is the biggest part of being human and being in music. I think so many times, like, people forget, and I'm never going to be one of those people.
Emotional.
Yeah.
There was a 5-song EP that you had released earlier, and I want to talk about One Day. And again, co-writer on all of these songs. One Day in particular stood out, the title track. Trade your Ray-Bans for readers, your blanket has a heater, or your son runs out to take the keys away. I'll be there. Oof. Grandparents?
It's my grandparents. Yeah. My grandparents, they have been together over 50, 60 years. And my grandma got married when she was 14. And I can't get a text back at 24. And so, no, but I wrote this song about them. Growing up, I was like, I always want to love like my grandparents. You know, they have best friends. And I knew I wanted to write this song. But I'll tell you like a quick story.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was back whenever it was during COVID and quarantine. And Nana and Paul were calling, and they were like, we just want to see people. And we're like, you cannot. And they was like, we just want to see you. And so they brought their lawn chairs down to our house and sat them in the yard. And we sat ours all the way at the garage. And they just wanted to look at us, I guess, to know people existed. And so we went in the house. I went in the house for maybe 15 minutes. And Paul had grabbed a bucket out of the garage, and he was giving my Nana a pedicure in the front yard. And I was like, I want a man like that. And so I literally went back to Nashville and wrote this song with Jen Stiegel. And I was like, here's my idea. And I want it to be about my grandparents. So that song is a love letter to my grandparents, and hopefully having a love like that one day.
It's an amazing song.
Oh, thank you. That's one of my heart songs. Yeah.
It sounds like you're stockpiling a lot of
Yeah.
songs right now. I know we have this EP, we have Redbird, the single. Are you thinking about, or are you in the process of what's next for HunterGirl?
What's next? I think that I immediately came back and started writing songs again. I had plenty to write about after this year. Working on new music, playing shows. There's so many things on the bucket list of things that I want to do. And so I think I never stopped working. And so I'm hitting the ground running as soon as I got back. And yeah, I can't wait for what's in the future for sure.
And I can't even ask you, because there are a lot of new artists that come to town and they start co-writing, and that experience always takes people by surprise a little bit because they've got to be open. You really reveal, like you said, your heart songs, your heart. This is something that you've been doing for so long. So is it a comfortable experience when you sit in the room with people that you may not know and tell your story? Talk about that experience of co-writing.
Yeah. Whenever I was younger, I wrote by myself. And so then coming to Nashville, everybody writes with everybody. And I'm a pretty open person anyway. I'm very like empathetic, and I never stop talking. But I think in a room with people you don't know, I think it's hard to open up sometimes. But I don't know. I think in order to get the best song, you have to. And so I don't think I've been scared in a long time about talking about things that I've went through, just because the times that I've done that, I've gotten the best song because somebody else feels comfortable enough to talk about something that they went through too. But yeah, I started writing by myself and then doing co-writes, and then I'm writing by myself a little bit more again and going back and forth. So yeah, I've been working on a lot of music.
Is it going to be something similar to what we've heard with?
I think that Well, the music that I'm working on right now is definitely my journey over this past year. Things that I've went through. It's definitely going to be a bunch of heart songs. It's going to be thanking a lot of people. It's going to be heartbreaks. It's going to be a compilation of, if you guys wanted to know, it's like if you stole my diary out from under my bed and opened it up and just got an unfiltered version, that's what you're going to see in my music coming up.
I love it. Right now, a lot of people watching at home, they've watched you on your journey through American Idol. A young girl, maybe a young man thinking, I want to do that. I have that same storyline. Advice? What would you tell them?
I would say, don't give up. I think that some things in life, a lot of things in life are hard, and usually the hard thing is never, like, the hard thing's what you should go after. I think it's just that moment where you quiet all the voices in your head that are saying you can't, and just listen to your heart saying that you can do it. You know, I got some really good advice right before I left for LA, and it was from this lady in Dillard's. We were sitting there, and I was buying clothes before I went, and I was talking to her, and she was asking me about my life, and I was like, I'm about to do something really scary, and she said, well, if God will send you to it, He'll see you through it. And I said that before every episode. I said it before every show after. Anytime that I feel scared, I'm like, I don't know if that lady even knows what she did for me that day, but I think just listen to the signs and listen to the people that are going to believe in you. And that lady was just a stranger, and she totally changed the way that I lived my life after that. So I think it's being the kind of person that you're going to remember and being proud of yourself at the end of the day.
By the way, that phrase already become a song yet?
Oh, yeah, it's working on it.
I knew you were working on it.
Nobody steal my hook.
That's this girl's, yeah. So, you know, this girl, Hunter. How many times have people asked you this story? But for people who may not know, how did you become HunterGirl?
Okay, so my last name is Wakanowski. It's 11 letters. Kindergarten was very hard when they asked me how to spell my name. But the lady in the front office, I was the only girl hunter in my school and in my county and anything, and they were like, girl hunter, hunter girl, come to the office. And so I started going by that nickname, and then I was in a talent show, and they were like, the girl hunter walking, hunter girl, come up here. And so I was like, okay, I guess my name's HunterGirl, and my pa calls me that, and it just stuck as a nickname going forward, and I was like, I'm just gonna go by HunterGirl.
I don't even know if you take us back, and as you're telling this story, I'm thinking when you got the call, or how did American Idol come to find you, and were you all in when you heard?
Yeah, my story's kind of complicated. They had reached out and everything. I got like an email thing, and so they were like, "Oh, we would think you should audition and everything." And I was like, "Okay." And so I was thinking about it. It was probably like a few hours, and then literally the next day I was playing a show. Nobody's ever there. I'm playing the bar stools, and this girl came up to me after the show, and she's like, "Hey, I used to work on American Idol. I think you should audition this year." And this was like, I literally got that email that night, and then the next day I was playing that show, and I was like, okay, God, I get your sign. And I was like, I'm just going to go for it. I'd auditioned previously when I was like 16, 17, 18. I'd auditioned a few times, and I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. And I decided just to jump for it. And I was like, okay, I made it past this audition. I was like, Mom, I made it past this audition. And then having my mom there with me at the Nashville audition and me making it, and just getting to have that moment with her after all those calls at 2 a.m. like, hey, Mom, I'm trying to make it music. I promise it's going to work out one day. And just to have her be there for that moment, it was the biggest moment of my life.
In God's time, right?
In God's time. That's where the line came from. Your timing's better than mine. I know it's true. I always want it to work out, but I think sometimes God makes you wait for a purpose, and I could not have done this 5 years ago, and I think His timing's always better than mine. We always want to make it faster, but sometimes the wait is what makes you ready for the moment.
We have had such a great time getting to know all about you and your journey through American Idol. What a pleasure.
Oh, thank you so much. I love you.
I love you too.
Oh, you're the best.
HunterGirl, everybody. Of course, her latest song is called Redbird. I'm Suzanne Alexander for American Songwriter, coming to you from Starstruck Studios, Nashville's Music Row. Thanks for tuning in.
Hey guys, it's Hunter Girl. Be sure to subscribe to the American Songwriter YouTube channel.